Well, Australia will consider supplying LNG gas to Europe, with concerns relying on Russia makes the continent vulnerable. Joining me live now is Resources Minister Keith Pitt. Minister, good morning to you. So are you in active discussions with the Europeans over extra gas and LNG? Should Russia turn the tap off?
Oh, well, good morning, Pete, and great to be with you, great with your viewers. It's obviously a very serious situation in the Ukraine, and look, I'll repeat what Minister for Foreign Affairs Marise Payne has said, and that is we really want to see a de-escalation of tensions in that region, and we certainly encourage ongoing diplomatic relations and discussions, and that seems to be occurring. But in terms of Australia's ability to deliver LNG, we are one of the most reliable suppliers in the world. Right through the COVID pandemic, those hard-working men and women of the resources sector made sure we met our contracts. We continue to deliver LNG and coal and other resources and energy products to places like Japan and South Korea. They've kept the lights on, and if there's a shortfall in supply, then Australia will look to fill it. We will, of course, continue to meet our existing contracts, but where there is a shortfall, Australia will always look to support our friends.
So you're in active discussions with the Europeans about that right now?
Mate, I'm not going to get into what discussions may or may not be happening inside the Department of Foreign Affairs. Once again, I'll come back to what the PM and the Minister for Foreign Affairs have said. We want to see a de-escalation of tension. We want to see a reduction in terms of the activities in that region. But in terms of what happens for Australia's Resources Minister, of course, I want to see more production. I want to see more jobs in this country. And we'll continue to support those people who are our friends in this space. Yeah. What else would you expect me to say, Pete? Of course we're going to support our allies.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's an opportunity here for our producers.
Absolutely. And regardless of whether the shortfall is in a commodity like a grain or gas or coal, Australia's exporters will always look to fill that shortfall and that supply. This is why it's so important we continue to have a pipeline of projects in this country. We've had final investment decision made on the Scarborough project up in the northwest with Woodside. That is a massive project. We've got backfill from Barossa into Darwin LNG and extension of life up there. We've got our strategic basin plans for gas onshore, including the Beetaloo in the Northern Territory. And this is why we need to continue to push forward.
So would this be a long-term opportunity here, or would this be a short-term fix?
Oh, look, that's a matter for exporters to determine whether they sign long-term contracts or not. But right now, we've got to ensure that spot cargoes are going to the right place. They'll always be looking for opportunities on spot prices, but we'll continue to meet our long-term contracts because there are countries that have made significant investments in this country. They've made the right decision with long-term contracts, long-term bids and long-term investment. We'll continue to make sure that we deliver.
Most of our LNG goes to China, right? So how big is the European market for us?
Well, it'll continue to get larger if there's no supply from others, mate, I've got to say. That's pretty obvious. Yeah. The other thing, though, I do want to comment on, though, Pete, is that we do have arrangements in place with the East Coast exporters that they'll always offer any surplus gas into our domestic market first. So we need to make sure we look after our own manufacturers and those people who are operating in this country. But once again, this is why we've got to keep that pipeline in place. That's why activism that delays projects can be so damaging to our country's prospects.
OK, well, you're not telling me anything that's going on with the Europeans and discussions at the moment. What about the Americans? The Americans, Minister, say that they are having discussions with us about that. What is the context of those discussions?
Mate, I'm not going to break any state secrets, unfortunately.
Come on, Keith. I got you up nice and early for us this morning. Give me something.
Oh, look, I'm a farmer. I love early starts. Oh, I used to be anyway. Mate, we will continue to have those discussions. And once again, I mean, this just demonstrates how important arrangements like AUKUS and the Quad and other security arrangements are. We'll continue to stand with like-mindeds. We don't like to see what's going on happening in the Ukraine. We're confident that we can continue to keep having those diplomatic discussions. And once again, I'd say to all Australians, please take the travel advice. It's time to get out while there are commercial flights available, and that could change at any time.
Do you wonder why, though, Russia would turn the tap off when it comes to gas? Because presumably they'd lose a lot of money out of that, right?
Absolutely. It certainly would impact their economy, as it would impact ours. Peter, wasn't that long ago that we've got a worldwide pandemic. We've still got that going on right now, and there were real concerns about our ability to continue to export. And I do want to give a shout out to all those hard-working Australians, mate, that what they've done to keep our industries on track, delivering and meeting our contracts. It's just enhanced this country's reputation. We are seen as one of the most reliable suppliers in the world. We've continued to meet our contracts. And as a result, mate, we're going to have a record-breaking year, some $379 billion in terms of exports for resources and energy. Yeah. That's up from 246 that was forecast in the midst of the pandemic.
OK. Minister, oil's a big problem for us at the moment, particularly with the inflationary pressures. You're seeing that at the Bowser at the moment. It's costing people twice as much to fill up the tank as it did only just a few months ago. How long do you expect punters to be paying these high prices for fuel?
Look, it's got a direct impact, on people's pockets. There's no doubt about that, and it's a difficult position at the moment. We don't regulate the fuel price. I know there's many who would like us to do that. However, it is determined by the world oil price, by exchange rates and others. We've got the ACCC's keeping a close eye on this, as they always do, to make sure that there is no price gouging. But all of those working Australians, mate, have got actually more money in their pocket from our tax cuts. So they do have more available, which I think is good news. But I do recognise this is a challenge for many working Australians. So
what do you suspect? This could be around for weeks, months?
Oh, it'll come down to what the production rates are. And I'd like to see OPEC meet their forecasts. I think that would be helpful. But once again, what are we doing here in Australia? Well, we need to make sure we've got projects coming through the pipeline that can continue to add condensate in particular out of offshore oil and gas. We need to continue to look and explore and find new opportunities, and that's what I intend to do as a resources minister.
So when it comes to fuel, though, are you hamstrung? Is the government hamstrung on this? I mean, when punters are paying nearly $2 a litre for fuel, and according to reports this morning, and that's going to be the case for several weeks, what can you do?
Well, this is the challenge when you are reliant on the world oil price. It does move up and down. It wasn't that long ago that it was quite affordable, actually.
Yep,
so we've seen some change. We need to ensure that those big producers are actually producing and not looking to short the market. And when we've got challenging events in terms of world affairs, like we see in Ukraine, it does create instability, and we need confidence out in the market. But I'll come back to the point I made earlier, mate. As Australia's Resources Minister, this is why we want to get these projects in the pipeline and approved. This is why we need to get them developed. This is why we need to make sure we've got more self-reliance in terms of our ability to produce resources and energy.
Keith Pitt, thanks for getting up early for us, even though you're used to it. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Best part of the day.
I agree with that too.